everybody, this is Rich from the Metal Cell Forums. I've got Evan, Danielle and Joe with us tonight. How are you, lads?
Great.
Very good.
First of all, Joe, happy 40th birthday, my man.
By
the time this goes out, it'll be 2 or 3 weeks' time anyway, so you'll be even that bit older.
Cake look unreal, like.
I'll be getting the grey pubes before we know it, guys. Looks like.
And we'll come on the podcast to talk about that.
Joe, the main thing is if your eyesight is good and you can look down there and check them out, like if you can determine which is grey and which is not. That's always possible,
like,
you know.
Still being able to see them is a sign of my great athletic ability, like, you know, or maybe I'm not drinking enough beer.
Oh God! So you had a good party.
It was great, crack. So it was, and actually it didn't feel that bad the next day. I was able to go for a wee lie down and went out to the pints the next day. So because everyone got the day off because the Queen of England coped, so she did.
Unreal, yeah.
You probably heard about that. So
yeah.
Yeah, she croaked just the day before I went to the UK. Like, I was on my way over. I was like, great.
Day before we went to Belfast as well.
Oh, fuck it, yeah.
Did it affect you in any way?
No, well, apart from making us really happy, no.
No. Yes, indeed. Danielle, did anything close over there while you were... Where did you go? Was it Liverpool?
Liverpool.
Okay.
So they're on the verge of celebrating. Well, actually, they're completely different to the rest of England. They were just like, fuck the Queen.
They didn't sing the national anthem and all before football games and all over there. They're just not into any of that nationalistic stuff at all.
No,
it's amazing, isn't
it? The Liverpool game cancelled though. Some of the lads were supposed to be going to that. But the following game, did you see, like, they were really worried about putting on a minute's silence for the Queen because they thought all of the Liverpool fans would boo.
Right.
Yeah, I saw something about that. All right.
And
so it's I don't know what I watched it actually. I was watching that game and they definitely didn't have a minute's silence. It was definitely only like 30 seconds or something.
Put it quick.
Yeah, it was.
I think I saw Alan did some message for Joe for his 40th involving the Queen and something else. It was...
They did some, like, a video of all my mates. Note that you two now weren't there. Like, where were you guys? But, like, yeah, so they did a video, and Alan's one was bizarre. It was like the back of a Manowar album with, like, little cut-out faces of, like, Jerry Adams and the Queen on top of the Manowar bodies, and it didn't make any sense. So there you go. But that's
maybe it wasn't supposed to.
Much like my friendship with Alan, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, your cake looked unreal.
Oh, the cake was amazing, yeah.
We're
still fucking eating it. We're still working away at it, like, you know. Cake
You'll
for
get
dinner.
you'll be eating that till you're 50, like.
Yep.
And Evan, you have some news for us, haven't you?
I'm pregnant.
In relation to Worn Out.
Oh yeah, we have. As well, we'll be announcing it tomorrow, real time. But by the time this comes out, the whole thing will be out. That we have a new single.
Thanks for giving us all the copies of it so we could listen to it anyway. Fair play. I appreciate that.
Delicious.
You know?
Yeah.
It was nice out
Never
of
happened.
you know?
Absolutely never happened. If anyone
It's
gets
the fucking
something out of
trust
me,
issues again, like, Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
I have every right to have trust issues.
Fuck you, man. That's it now. That's the final straw between me and you. Just
you know what? I'll promise you, when this comes out, I'll send it to you.
Nah, yeah.
I can.
I'm not interested. I'm going to fucking slate it.
But yeah, we have Justin Hill from 6th doing guest vocals on it. So that was like a massive kind of childhood thing to have down on it. And he did an unreal job. He mixed and mastered it as well. And it's one of those things that, like, I want to delete every single thing that we've put up since then, just because I like it so much. And we didn't have to hold on to it for 2 years, so I don't hate it. Like,
what's it called?
Bridge Burner.
Bridge Burner. Okay. You heard it here last.
Well, it'll already be out by the time this comes out, so
yeah, literally.
Yeah, I'll send it to you then. You'll get it off me then.
You've literally burned your bridges with us, man.
Yeah, you have. You have, yeah.
I might say I'm worn out from that joke.
Okay, so actually, since we're on about singles, let's go into them.
Yeah.
I sent you 5 this month. I apologize if I kind of gave you a lot to think about and hear, but it is what it is. And the first one is Eternal Hellcarax. So that's Praetorian, Oceans and Tirret. They're a black metal band from Cavan in the Republic of Ireland. They will be releasing their 3rd studio album, Drown in Ash, on the 30th of September. So this episode will come out after. The single for the album, Where the Dead Things Roam Free, was released on the 9th. And it's the only song that they're sharing until the 30th of September. So on this album, we aim to describe the dark and emotive battle with depression, feelings of desolate, bleakness and loss. So, Danielle, maybe you kick it off for us.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. There's a part that comes up that kind of took me by surprise, is the clean vocals that come in.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool. It was really different for black metal. I thought it was very polished for black metal, which I surprisingly liked.
Yes.
It was well produced. There's a song later on, and I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite because I think it's not as well produced, and I really like that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I don't know. There was something that's not too black metal-y about it that I enjoyed.
It's called melody.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, I would have thought something like this would come from Gavin.
Yeah.
But sure,
Really
the slug is from Gavin. Yeah. So it's a big thumbs up for me, and I haven't heard of this band before either. So
they're out for quite a long while.
Okay.
I think it's 2003 maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah. As far as I know. Maybe 2008 was their demo. My apologies.
Okay.
Evan, have we converted you as well to black metal?
No. Yeah, like it's absolutely no surprise. I couldn't give a shit about black metal, but in saying that, like, I know they're very good at what they do, and I also have heard people recently kind of singing their praises. I definitely agree with Danielle with just production-wise isn't that overly black metal thing where they record it through a phone playing through a tape player kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very, very good musicians. Again, like black metal is always going to be, it's very hard for me to see past it. But like,
did you not get the melody?
I did,
that?
Yeah, but I mean, like,
and there's a second vocalist as well.
Yeah, like it really just, it isn't for me. I have great respect for them. A lot of people that I know have been talking about them lately. Just not for me. It's just like polishing a turd for me, and that's no offense to. It's like you send me any black metal thing, and I'll have that kind of vibe to it. But very very talented musicians. Like they're good at what they do, and I think they nail the sound that they're going for. It's just, again, it'll never be for me.
Yeah, cool. Joe?
Yeah, probably similar. The weird thing I found about these, like, obviously these guys have been going for donks, because I remember looking up the gigs that they'd done, and they used to play in the Pint quite a lot and stuff like that, maybe about 10 years ago, with bands like Overoff and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like musically there wasn't really a lot that I liked about it. Like, I find obviously the vocals and stuff, it's just not really, there's nothing there that I like about it. As I said, I find it quite strange that the black metal bands that we're reviewing this week all had the same kind of vibe, where some of the parts nearly sounded like late 90s alternative rock. Like, you know, there were some weird chord melodies and stuff like that I wouldn't.
There's a lot of post-metal going on in this band.
Yeah, totally. But, you know, this is fucking going to sound horrible as well, but there's a bit of a venom about it, where I could sort of feel the lack of chops going on and stuff with, like, the lads. Now, obviously I know that solos and stuff isn't really a thing with this sort of music and stuff, but it felt a wee bit just like, here's some uninspired guitar playing, uninspired singing, and non-Joe vibes coming from the stereo. So, but, like, you know, obviously there's a market for this because they've been doing it for ages. This is their third album and they're signed to a label and stuff, so I'm sure they'll not be shedding any tears over my review. So
Yeah. I've heard the whole album, and for me, it's definitely a contender for one of the best Irish metal releases of the year. So, and I'm certainly not a black metal fan, but the whole album, there's seven songs, I think, and it's fantastic. It really is. So look out for them. Eternal Hellcracks, the album release will be out on the 30th of September. So onwards to the next black metal act that we have. There's no escaping. This is Ferocity gone.
Ferrugi Nublau.
And the song is Pink Mist. So it's the second full-length album from Ferocity. Again, he's featured on the show a good bit, so fans would know of him. It's Thomas Hines. He's from Wexford. I think he's now 19, at a guess. Or he might have done the Leaving Cert this year. I think so. But I mean, that sums it up about the guy. Isolation is the album. What it means to be alone is comforting, but also scary at times. The album shows the beauty and scariness of being isolated. The album started production in November 2021, with 2 tracks being released from the album. So he just says, as the sun sets on these horrid days, everything turns to black. The album came out on August the 29th, so be sure to check it out on Bandcamp. And so this is Pink Mist. Over to you, my man.
See, again, black metal, the low production thing really isn't for me. The one thing I will say about this is, like, I would really love to see this. I know we say it all the time, but like a full band aspect, or else just, you know, recorded a lot better, because the tremolo sections, the actual chordal progression on that is quite, like, an epic sound, but I just feel like the production lacks on it. But you know, it's black metal, so it's kind of like, what's the point in having that argument? But I feel like there could be potential for this to sound massive and almost like mix like a kind of a Conjurer kind of vibe into it. You know, like I know
Interesting, yeah.
they have that kind of thing, like the tremolo pick, almost black metal, but what sets it apart a lot of the time is the chordal progression.
Yeah.
And that chordal progression in it is very, it has that like epic, almost like chorus thing. There's a certain word I'm looking for, but like
I think that could develop over time. I mean, because
I
like
think
he is
so,
so
you
young
know,
and he's still doing it by
this is it.
himself.
I think there's a lot of like more modern metal stuff that that he listens to that you can see is like creeps in slightly, but he still wants to do the black metal thing. But there's other parts that are just kind of naturally coming through with him, and I'd like to see that kind of explored a bit more. You know, it's hard for someone as young as himself to be doing, you know, like when we're talking about production and to get a studio and do all this. I'm aware that there is massive limitations for it, but he's one of the most talented musicians I've ever seen. Like I've seen his videos just of him playing guitar. Like I feel like whatever it is that he does on these is thought out. You know, it's not just, it's not any limitation of his ability. The stuff that he could write he could write the most technical thing.
Yeah, I think there is comparison to him, and there is maybe 6 years in the difference is Hellripper.
Yeah.
You know, another guy that's doing it on his own. Now he's developed more into a band and they supported Joe's Gamma Bomb and stuff. But certainly we hope that Tom's keeps going the way he's going, and it's an interesting project to watch.
Oh, he'll be one of the best. Like, you know, I'm 100% sure he keeps going the way he's going, and he'll be top tier. Like,
yeah, Joe.
I think that's a great way of putting it. That, like, it's refreshing sometimes to hear something, because the first thing, whenever I heard this, I was like, these drums sound like fucking Rock and Roll Star, Cigarettes and Alcohol by Oasis. It sounded really like clanky and stuff. But I like that they're not, like, he's not pretending to be like, okay, I'm just going to start blasting the fucking 16ths on the pedals here. It's like, this is what we really actually sound like now. And as he said, in 4 or 5 years, it's probably going to be like a big progression on to doing something different. Like, do any of you think that the singing sounded any different than the last song? Or did it sound exactly the same?
No, I think there was a slight difference to it. Again, I think there was a bit more of a modern thing to it.
That's probably because I'm not really a fan of the genre. It's like, you know, to me, the singing sounded exactly the same. And like, I think that can take the character out of this sometimes, you know, just because it's one of those things that you might really like the, you know, progressive kind of chords and, the beats and stuff like that going on in the song. But I think unless you're a particularly fan of, like, you know, black metal and stuff like that, you're not going to dig this singing, and it's not going to get anyone else into it. He's probably not in a position where he's looking for, you know, to convert people over or whatever. But, and again, like, as you said, this is the start of his career. So, like, maybe his voice will sound different in a couple of years, but it wouldn't be the sort of thing that would jump out at me, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Danielle?
To kind of contradict what I said earlier about the last one, I actually really like the rawness of this one. Mm-hmm. I think it adds to it. I think it's really cool. So the fact that it's not really well produced or that, I think it adds to it personally. There's parts in it that you're just kind of like, it feels just almost like rock and roll, like what you said, Joe, rather than black metal at times, which I think is really cool. I have to say, I did prefer the song "Everything Turns to Black." I thought that's his lead single off of that album. And I thought that was a stronger tune. But yeah, as you guys said, it's really, really exciting to see where he goes with this. But it was another thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I'm just
converted me to black metal.
I'm just wondering, in general, is black metal becoming more diluted down to kind of rope in more of an audience? Because, like, it was so extreme. and so far out there that like nobody could, like the likes of us, for example, couldn't even fucking listen to it for like a minute or 2 minutes. Yet it's, remember, like with Jack's band as well, Gallup, you know, it's kind of just, I don't know. I mean, I think excited a bit about it that I wouldn't turn up my nose now anymore at it because it's so extreme. But I think it's bleeding into other genres, and it's interesting.
Yep, definitely. You know, I think this is probably a generation of people who weren't directly influenced by Venom and Bathory the way that bands 10 or 15 years ago were, you know, and you can certainly hear it in the sound. There is a lot more, as I said, like get wee twinges in 90s progressive or alternative music in the chord, you know, chord progressions and stuff. So fair play to them.
Yeah, I think there's like it's almost like waves. Do you know the way like you have the new wave of British heavy metal, and it's like there seems to be like a different way. Like I think Horrenda are great.
Yes, there's another great
example of that. That like I don't like. I think Horrenda are one of the very few black metal bands that I'm like. They are black metal, but it's one of those things that I'm sure like true cult lads hate them, you know, because their production is good and they're bringing in other elements, which is probably not cool to them, but sure, fucking whatever. Who gives a shit?
I mean, yeah, it is, and it's an exciting time for black metal in Ireland in general, because you have the quality of Tomas. We just heard Eternal Hell Corrects and Horrenda, and there's Four Knot as well coming through. Just really good time for Irish metal, especially black metal. Okay, so next track up is a band called Coma, and it's Betrayed. They're a melodic metalcore band. The song is about a Judeo-Christian God forsaking his chosen people. It seeks to ask the question, what kind of God would allow this? We aim to challenge the idea of an ever-loving personal God, as the evidence of history shows this idea to be delusional at best. So Coma come from a wide range of genres and influences musically. Mick and James, who play guitars, play dynamic, fast, intricate parts, counterpointed by Fling on bass, Ellis on drums, and Niall on vocals, who add elements of groove, making the listener feel that swing that is often missing from metal. So we'll check it out and see if you'll agree with them. Again, I'm limited to the amount of time I can play each song. Okay, Danielle, what do you think of that?
I don't know. When I read the email during the description of the song, I was really excited because I was like, oh, these themes are really good. You know how I am for lyrics. It sounds like you asked an AI to create a Trivium song. It's just from there's something missing from it. I can't put my finger on what, and the talent is there. Like the growling sounded exactly like Matt Heavey from Trivium. It sounded very like that. I think there's potential there, but I don't know what it is. Is everything over polished? Is that what it is? Evan, what did you think of the drum sound?
Very overproduced, I think. But I think a lot of things are coming out like that, even accidentally. Like.
Yeah, I think it just felt overproduced. I felt like there was no heart and soul in it, guys. You know?
You know what? That's not a bad description of it. I kind of felt that there was just a bit of balls missing out of it. Absolutely.
It just kind of felt like everybody was doing their thing.
Yeah.
And nobody was doing a bad job.
No.
But it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't mash together properly or didn't have that oomph.
Ev, would you agree?
Yeah, the second, when Danielle said, the whole time when I was listening to it the other day, I was like, it's just like Baby's first Trivium. Do you know what I mean? Trivium or Trivium, whatever. But again, they seem like very good songwriters, very accomplished musicians themselves, but there's, for a lack of a better word, there's almost a staleness to it. Like there's no real, there's nothing that sets it apart. It's like, again, they're very good musicians. I can't stress that. It's not like they don't have the ability, but there's something about it that's just not clicking. It's kind of, it's stale. I guess there is a staleness to it. That's almost just doing it by numbers, or it's like half the band want like a Biffy Clyro kind of thing, and the other half want to sound like Trivium. So we got
early days for the band.
Yeah.
So early days, Joe.
Fair play to them though.
This wouldn't normally be my sort of thing at all, but I like to sing them a lot. You know, like I definitely get what you were saying. Whenever the backing vocals, the growly vocals come in, it sounded so out of place because the song isn't, you know, it's not that kind of song really, you know. Yeah, and like for every cool idea musically, there was also something that annoyed me about it. Like, you know, like the verse is just based entirely on what the rhythm of, you know, there's no riff there. The riff is just, you know, here's these notes that have been separated. So, but I think that the singing was cool, and like that in itself was enough to kind of set it apart from me. But it also kind of sounded a bit like 20 years ago, there were a whole bunch of bands doing Ireland's version of System of a Down type thing, you know, and the sound kind of like that. So we've spoke about this before. The big thing is, how do you break through with this sort of music? There isn't an underground of like new metal-y type stuff like this. So it's either become massive or fail, you know.
It has that like Sirius XM want. Do you know what I mean? Like one of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll listen and we'll keep going with them. As I said, it's only their first single, so they have the musical chops. It's just get a bit of fucking balls in there, lads. That's all I'd say. Next track is Cyanide Gems. The song is Grit. Thanks to Danielle, who discovered the band. She threw them up on Sunday Worship there, and I was just going, wow, this is interesting. So a bit of background about the band. Cyanide Gems are a 4-piece British, Irish and Spanish new wave rock band formed in 2022 when the collection of loud, rock-mad lunatics met in an Irish bar in Barcelona. I mean, Jesus, are they destined for great things or what? The members' inspirations range from entire rock eras such as 70s with artists like Black Sabbath and Rory Gallagher to 90s grunge and 2000 metal. So there's Alex on bass, John on drums, who is from Ireland. Am I correct, Danielle?
Yeah, he is, yeah. He's
okay,
a dub.
Cool. He's a dub, okay. And Albert is on guitar and Coral is on vocals. So we'll give this one a spin. And the song is called Grit.
Grit and cement coats the gums, and the sun comes and goes, and jugs of water wash the filth away, and secrets show, and cold threads of silver magic deeds haunt. Needless to say, they grant the wishes that they want.
Okay, Danielle, we'll go to you first.
Well, I'm a bit biased because I'm really, really good friends with Joe. Or not Joe. I am really good friends with Joe. But John Drummer is one of my really close friends. But I was really surprised when this is what he sent us. It's like, this is what the band does, because he's a big black metal head. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath. I'm a big fan of Deep Purple. Brought up and all that. So it was a real throwback to then. I think the vocalist is very like Grace Slick from Jefferson's Airplane.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's class. And they're preparing for live shows. So I think that would be interesting too.
Okay, cool. I have a guest here to just join us, if you don't mind there for a second. But yeah, we'll continue anyway. So yeah, there's another band that are just, it's not Band of Horses, no, there's another band that reminds me of them.
What? No, I'm here. Fine, I'm here.
Hey!
I was struggling a wee bit there.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks for joining us.
No problem at all. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so do you mind just sitting in on this? We're just reviewing a single or two, and maybe you might know one or two of the bands, or...
Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah,
Maybe educate me a wee bit.
Yeah, and then I'll introduce you properly then, man, when we're finished the reviews, if you don't mind. Thank you. What are you drinking, Carling? Some man.
It's not Strongbow.
What's it, Strongbow?
It was the most Irish thing I could find, so...
Okay, so we're just reviewing a band from Barcelona, Gav, Cyanide Gems. The track is Grit, and just hand it over to Evan there for his opinion on it.
To be honest, the whole thing felt a bit back room in a pub in Mullinahone kind of thing, if that makes sense to anyone. Like, it was just kind of like I could picture the small cannon, you know, like the blue, red, and green lights spinning. Yeah, it didn't really do much for me. Like, there was a lot of comparisons to like Sabbath and yeah, and like Jefferson Airplane, like, but they're class. Like, I think it's very. I don't know. It literally it didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
It's kind of for like imitation rather than anything else.
Yeah. So as I said, it's their first single. So
yeah, but fair play. You know, again.
And what do you think about her as a vocalist?
Yeah, brilliant, great vocalist. I just think as a whole, this as a unit, that wasn't the one for me.
Okay.
But again, as you're saying, first thing released, and it probably wouldn't be the type of thing I listen to anyway. So, like, fuck me anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Like.
Oh.
I thought those were really good. I can see these guys doing something similar to Blues Pill, or, you know, band like that. I think there's a whole bunch of room for retro kind of music like that, but non-specific. So, like, there was a bit of a, I don't know. I thought they could have went out, supported someone like Megadeth or Orange Goblin, and got a great reaction either way, you know, just because it's classic songwriting at the end of the day, and she's got a great voice. And everything else is kind of secondary, I think. So, like, I really could hear the song. Like, obviously, it's a lot more traditional, and, you know, that's probably the thing about it, that Evan, you were saying it sounded a bit like a kind of like a tribute or whatever, which I guess in a certain way it is, but sure, all this fucking black metal stuff we've been listening to is an absolute tribute to, you know, another genre of music, you know. So I thought it was very good. So
yeah,
long
so thumbs up there. Okay, so we'll go on to the last track of the night, and this is Survivalist. We're huge fans of them on the show from Northern Ireland. Gav and the lads, big shout out. And this is their new release called Rot.
Waste away. My mind's slipping into this way. Waste away. Flesh running from the decay. The walls are on the gates as it's going. My hands are retracting, you're closing. The walls are on the gates as it's going. And I'm running away as I'm loving.
how heavy they came in with this song. It's great to hear. Ev?
Yeah, I think they're kind of, and you could hear as well, they're trying to shed the metalcore kind of label that was put on them, that from talking to Gav just seemed to be something that did them more damage than good, because there's a lot, I think, like once you put kind of a metalcore thing on, people are thinking that it's like, you know, early 2000s super tight t-shirt, really like all the colors that go the whole way around. But I think in this you can hear they're going for a much, what I'd say more like, is it like a deathcore kind of vibe, or that kind of just much lower, heavier thing? And seeing them in Cork as well, like you kind of, I think having seen what they can do live and like how all the other tunes that they have kind of mesh together, that, you know, when you hear something like this, it's not as much a surprise after seeing it live. And I just think there's a lot of weight to them, and I think they'll do. I think they're on the right path anyway.
Joe?
Yeah, they're certainly extremely heavy, you know, and sludgy and stuff. And like, I would say with the right sound and stuff live, it would sound brilliant. Again, I think the vocals can be a bit featureless, you know, because they're trying to compete with the music in terms of heaviness, you know, and I think that can sometimes make it seem a wee bit too, you know. But again, if you're like, I actively don't like that kind of singing, and I think if you didn't mind it or were a fan, it probably wouldn't deter you at all. You'd be like, this is pretty cool. But like, yeah, certainly extremely heavy, and I could imagine it going down really, really well live, you know.
Yeah. Danielle?
Yeah, I loved it. The second it started, I was like, Jesus, that's so heavy. I like the direction they're going. I'm not a metalcore fan, so yeah, to go more deathcore is definitely, I think, the way to go. Reminded me of early King A10, which is best. Even the vocals are early King A10. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the rest of their releases that come out, and hopefully catch them soon live and get bait up in the pit.
Nothing like it. That's cool. Big thumbs up then from me as well. I'm a huge fan of them, and I'm just delighted with the direction they're going in. So serious potential there. That's survivalist. Big shout out to Gavin and the lads. Okay, so that's it. Gavin, welcome to the show officially. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. Aye.
So for those that don't know, Gavin is one of the founder members of Damnation Festival, and we were having a discussion there, Gav, today amongst the four of us about what topic to talk about this evening, and myself and Danielle are going to Damnation Festival, and Danielle brought it up, that the fact that despite losing a big headliner like Ministry, you've turned it around to your absolute favour and literally knocked it out of the park. I know Joe has played Damnation Festival as well, so thanks for joining us, and maybe you can talk us through the emotions of losing someone like Ministry, and maybe give us a background then to Damnation Festival itself.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, what are the other two doing? What's your excuse for not coming? Oh, there's no good excuse. Right, I'll forgive you. But aye, so let's start with Ministry. So what was it, Tuesday last week? I think it might have been. I got a call from an agent. Weird enough, it was Wednesday 13's agent that phoned me to say, "Oh, fuck, you heard the bad news." And weirdly, I thought it was talking about the Festival Dominion. Do you know the one that we were trying to do up in the top? Durham way. I think that get canned that day, and he had some bands in it. So that's what I thought it was talking about. But it came across quite, oh fuck, have you heard the bad news? Like, I mean, how bad is it? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to say another festival class, but it's not my festival. He's like, no, Ministry are fucking out, and it's an odd one. It takes you a second to process. Like, you almost feel that way. Nah, that is a joke. You know what I mean? There's no way. We've just promoted this now for fucking 12, 13, 14 months. I mean, that Ministry booking was done in March, April last year. You know what I mean? So, aye, that was a bit of, oh shit. And then my first thought was, right, if it's true, well, it was true because I went in and I saw the email saying it was happening. But if it's true, let's tell the fans, because
you acted very quick on that.
Ultimately, there's a lot of ticket sales getting sold for Damnation right now. And the last thing I want to be doing is selling tickets to someone who's coming to see a band that's no longer on the bill. So the priority was, and it literally was within minutes, we made the post to say that Ministry were no longer on the bill. And we never had a better explanation than what we gave publicly, which was apparently a festival in Belgium had collapsed.
Oh,
the money involved.
Okay, so that's where it was. Okay.
Aye, Sinners Day, I think, which was the whole situation was bizarre because Sinners Day wasn't even on their tour poster. So then, when they came out with the excuse and said because a festival collapsed, we were the only festival on the bill, on the poster. So the automatic assumption was Damnation had collapsed, which was another reason for us to get out in front of it.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was a case of the next 2 or 3 days were scrambling to try and find some sort of replacement plan. What makes that? Well, I just keep talking for 20 minutes.
Jesus, we're fascinated with this because I mean, you obviously went to Godflesh.
Yeah, I mean, at the very first, so we done the sort of the long shots. Went to Botch. We tried to
Christ, if you got Botch,
tried to tie up Sodom because they just lost that show, and obviously up in Durham. But people don't get it. I mean, people are coming on saying, "Oh, what's Devin Townsend doing?" Or Meshuggah, because like these bands don't. You don't just phone them up and say, "Oh, by the way, fancy jumping in the pub," and you can like these bands. As I said, Ministry were 15 months in advance. They were booked, and the negotiations alone can take 2 months. So it's not like you can't just phone Creator and say, "Oh, here, Millie, fancy diving down the road and headlining Damnation." So it started to get a wee bit, maybe credit to Damnation and the reputation we've got for sort of pulling lineups out the bag, but it started to get a bit silly, and I had to go in and post and say, "Look, listen, guys, it's not going to be whatever we make happen. It's not going to be some superstar band on 6 week notice, 7 weeks notice, suddenly going to come in and fill this slot." So we knew we'd done this exact same trick with Godflesh last year when we lost all the American bands. We went to, if you can get British bands, if you've got a reputation for paying them quite quickly, if they're available, they will do it. So Godflesh was the first and most easy sort of, firstly, the industrial, so there's some sort of link to Ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, they were British, we had a relationship with them, and I knew if we could get them again, we could get them to do Street Cleaner. If we paid enough, we could get them to do Street Cleaner, which makes different from the booking we just done. And then the rest of them were just Hail Marys. I mean, it was like going for Jane Doe and Prowler of the Yard. It was a bit like, if we can get any of them to come off, I'll be completely worth it and offer something new. And then all of them came off, you know what I mean? So that's it. It just ended up this super bill at the top. And everybody, unless you were some sort of mad industrial goth that only listens to Ministry and no other band, everybody was like, it was definitely, as a kid saying Twitter, a glow up. So it was phenomenal. Ticket sales since have been obscene. People have just completely lost their mind about this lineup or these sets.
I think there can't be any better way, man, to move venue either, really, is there? Like, whenever you're like, everyone's like, oh my God, moving from kind of spiritual home. But like, I think I spoke to you about this when you were saying, like, if you're not getting support anymore that you used to kind of enjoy in Leeds, then it's a bit of a no-brainer kind of moving, wasn't it?
Well, the big thing, we loved Leeds. Well, first off, a lot of people forget that we started in Manchester. So the 2005 and 2006 was in Manchester. We left to go to Leeds because we couldn't find a venue bigger than Jilly's Rockworld at the time. So that's the first thing. It wasn't like we're just leaving Leeds and we'd never been in Manchester. We're returning to where the festival started. And secondly, it was more about how the festival had outgrown that venue. I mean, yourself at playing your places. It's a maze. It is. The smallest stages are almost impossible to find. And when you get to them, they're always full. I mean, 12:30 in the morning, Abduction's playing, and absolutely no disrespect to Abduction, but our show before and after Damnation was not to 700 people. But you can't get in at 1:15 in the afternoon. And then it just started you're just getting complaints, basically. Fans were coming out and saying, I wanted to see Party Cannon and Boss Kelloyd in June, and I couldn't get in to see them. I mean, so what's the point? I'm buying tickets to come to your festival and I can't get in to see the bands that I want to see. And I completely agree, as did Paul, the Irish organiser that I do it with. So, it came at a time, the pandemic gave us a lot of time to think about what Damnation had become. And then it was a case of, right, okay, let's try and find another venue in this BEC Arena in Manchester, 6,000 capacity, and so twice the size of what Damnation was. And but this is us giving it a shot. And to answer your question, it wasn't ideal to lose your headliner 6 weeks out, but if you're going to do it and then make it work, then exactly what's happened was a bit of a dream scenario for us.
Okay, I just want to ask there about the 4 bands that have agreed to play those albums, Gav. Like, did you have to approach them and say, look, this is the story, Ministry have dropped out? They probably were aware of that anyway. And was it just them doing you a favour because it's Damnation Festival and they were glad to play on it? No?
No.
Okay.
No. There's big piles of cash.
I love it. Okay.
No, listen, put it this way, they wouldn't have done it if it not like if it was a Roadburn or a Psycho Las Vegas or another well-established festival that they'd played before in their relationship. They could well have done it as well. They weren't going to go and do it for some event that's just Altfest that just appeared and then asking the question. So yes, there was some sense of, yes, we're doing it for Damnation. I'm not privy to the conversations that happens with the bands. I just get told a yes or a no.
Okay.
So did they feel that, oh, you know what, they've got that's a bit of a tough break, losing your headliner 7 weeks out. But ultimately it's still good that they're not going to just, I mean, the band, it's a business for them as well. These sets are worth more money than a standard set. So they're worth paying more for. The bands and agents and managers know that. I know that as a promoter. And ultimately when they come back and say, this is the number we need for you to make that happen, then you go to that number or you don't. And on this occasion we did for all 3, which was more money than in Ministry's entire fee.
Jesus Christ.
Aye.
It seems to be paying off now, which you're saying, with the amount of I think even just the honesty of, you know, once it was gone and you were just, I think there was something refreshing about how honest and just straight up and kind of cutting out a middleman the whole thing was. I think, do you think it seems to me that it's definitely benefited you just from the amount of ticket sales that have come since, you know, where people kind of be aware.
Absolutely. I mean, yes. I mean, it has, the way it's all panned out. I mean, as I say, there's a few Ministry fans out there that do not give a shit about Jane Doe, Street Cleaner or Prowler in the Yard. And fair enough. I mean, the reason for booking Ministry was to attract a different type of audience that otherwise wouldn't know or care about Damnation. That was the entire punt of booking Ministry to begin with. So, aye. But, I mean, it's ticket sales, don't lie. I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road, as they say. And ticket sales have been phenomenal since these sets have been announced. And at the minute, as we stand, we're like 900 tickets away from a sellout. So with how many weeks? 6 weeks left. So yeah, it looks like it. I mean, I don't count any ticket that is not in black and white in the dashboard. However, if you were to go with the historical trends, yes, you do. The vast majority of your sales in the final weeks as everybody finally gets ahead to do it. So, that'll be. I mean, if they sell it, fucking hell, sell it in the arena. It seems almost like
I was going to say it's an interesting thing because in the past there's been certainly plenty of years where going into the festival in Leeds it's been sold out for a long time in advance. So you haven't had the ability to have, you know, walk up or, you know, as you said, last minute sales and stuff. So
wasn't the last one sold out?
Sorry,
the last one was sold out as well, wasn't it?
In March of that year. Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that's like, I think if yours are doing well and sales now, it's very likely that by the time it rolls up, you'll get a massive amount in the last minute if it doesn't sell out before then.
Yeah, I mean that's the hope. I mean, as we stand here right now, I'm pretty happy with how everything has gone. I mean, it feels like a different conversation for what we would have been having if we had invited me on this podcast last week, you know. So I'm pretty happy about it. Nervous about all the things. It's strange when you go into a place like Leeds, you've got control over so little. I mean, it's obviously your festival and you book the lineup and you promote it, but when you go into an arena, it's literally you get a tin can and that's it. That has been everything beyond that level to when we're hiring portaloos and fencing and security companies and I mean all the production from, I mean, literally is when you go in it's just a whole, I mean, every bit of production for the Mojo bar at the stage and the lights, sound, everything is. So I'm slightly nervous about just how much we're taking on that front, but at the same time, well, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, we could have just stayed at Leeds and just selling at these.
So, Gav, maybe you could just describe to viewers who've never been to Damnation Festival about the setup in Leeds, for example, and the difference now with you moving to Manchester.
There'd be a lot of crossover similarities. I mean, it was 4 stages in Leeds, so what would happen is 2 stages would clash against 2 stages would clash. They would just go backwards and forwards like that. The one bonus about Manchester's is it's 3 stages, so the main stage won't clash with any other stage, which is handy because like main stage is like 5,000 capacity in itself. So,
and this is all in one building, yes?
Yeah, it's all one. It's one building, one floor, maybe 15 yards between the main venue, which takes up the entire length of the building, and the other 2 venues are sort of split across it.
Okay.
And a lot of the problems that we had in Leeds, well, they've been amazing stairwells and lifts that took you to nowhere, and that will no longer be the case. Well, with new problems, I'm sure that we'll realise when we're there on the day. But in terms of clashes, it's eradicated 1 full stage worth of clashes. Leeds had this weird situation where they had a student canteen at the back of the main stage that we were never allowed to close. I mean, you could not offer them enough money to stop selling fucking £2 cheese sandwiches to students. And it made that we couldn't open our main stage till 2:30 in the afternoon, while the rest of the festival was ongoing beside it, which was a difficult situation because then you get a lot of bottlenecks and people kind of like, why are we stuck here in this room 3 when we should really find where the main stage is? Just daft things like that maybe from a fan's point of view they never noticed, but for us were certainly big issues. And the running joke with Damnation was there's a fire alarm that kept fucking going off every year as well. So I hope that's not something that follows us to Manchester.
Joe, you played Damnation how many times?
Twice, I think. I think 2013 and last year.
And
I put the posters up in honour.
For this podcast, that's a lot of framing doing for finding out in the day. Like,
I don't know if I get caught out with any questions. I'm like, I played the card.
Yeah, they're behind me now. Like, oh, that was.
It says in my first rodeo. I do my own podcast, so I'm up in this nonsense.
Man, do you think that going back to Manchester, it is more attractive to international travellers because you've got, the airport there, totally different situation in terms of hotels and stuff.
I mean, you know what? That wasn't a consideration at the time of moving back, but yes, and also now, even the bands. So I think even yourselves, when you came in, maybe you did land in Leeds, but most bands when they come in land in Manchester, and then it's the ball ache of having split our vans going backwards and forwards. And now we're there and now we're back to Manchester, whereas now it's a 20-minute drive to the airport and back. So that'll be... And just Manchester's an amazing scene for metal. I mean, Leeds was good to us for a lot of years, but Manchester's a big scene. And we've seen that as well, just how many ticket sales we've done from that city. Now, I hate I'm a Glaswegian who's travelled to festivals all over, but used to travelling to festivals in England and doing 5, 6, 7 hour drives. So we got a wee bit of backlash for people in Leeds who said they wouldn't want to travel to Manchester. Like, it's like me saying I don't want to travel to Edinburgh.
Fucking short train, fucking ride from. Jesus Christ. Even I've gone from Manchester to Leeds to watch a fucking football game.
You know what people are like? It's fucking complain. If Manowar were playing in their living room, they'd be like, why aren't they playing in the other room,
Why aren't they playing in the kitchen? Like,
Well, to be fair, if Manowar were playing in my living room, I'd complain as well, to be honest.
Yeah, so I'd move out straight away.
Like, Gav, you brought it up there that you do go to a few festivals yourself. Were you at Desert Fest, for example, this year?
That's one that's kind of passed me by a wee bit. I mean, I don't like London. So if I'm going to travel into London, it better be spectacular. And I think the only gig I've travelled to London in the last 20 years was Cult of Luna's Beyond the Redshift. Okay. And that's because the lineup for that was spectacular. So it's going to take a lot to get me to go to London. And that doom music is not my favourite type of music. And the weird thing about Desert Fest as well was they did opposite Damnation. What they do is, so we'll book Gamma Bomb, and then we'll make sure the band is clashing with Galbo, like Morning Beloved. You know what I mean? Or we'll make sure that like you might still like both bands, but that clash you're going to have a clear idea of what you want to do in that day. Desert Fest had like 5 venues with like Bongzilla, Electric Wizard, again, like the same sort of band across 5 venues. Like if that happened to me and that was a type of music I loved, I'd spend most of the day just fucking raging. You know what I mean? So that's not that's it. I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent there, didn't I?
No. The reason why I brought that up in relation to one of your bands that are playing on the bill is Green Lung.
Yes.
Who've suddenly, well, it's not sudden anymore. They're fucking huge.
Yes.
And they were booked in a small venue in London for Desert Fest. And the promoters, I don't know why, but they didn't seem to have the ability to change them to a bigger venue. Did you hear about this? No?
No, I didn't know.
Okay, so literally I think they may have left 200 people in, and there was at least another 200 or 300 people outside trying to get in. And again, like you were saying, a lot of people left other bands to walk maybe 20, 30 minutes down to another section of Camden to see Green Lung. Suddenly they're in a massive queue as well. And they can't see any further up to the venue doors in relation to why is this queue not moving. So they're missing bands as well. And so just something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't enjoy that bit, even the Beyond the Redshift, because one was in the Forum and then the other one's up. It was the Boston Music Room and the Dome. So that's I don't know what that was, but it felt like a 15-minute walk anyway after you've had a couple of pints in you.
Yeah.
And you would go up there. Now, that wasn't sold out, so you could at least get into the venues. But the idea, I didn't like that part. I didn't like that experience of the festival, like walking about London in the day when I felt I should have a pint in my hand and be watching music.
Yeah.
And to do that and then get somewhere and then not getting to see that band and also know you're missing a band that you love because it's the same genre would be, and that would be a nightmare. The Damnation clashes aren't out yet, but again, it'll be they'll make sense. I mean, like a Full of Hell will clash with a 40-watt Sun, for example.
Yeah,
I mean, or Green Lung. You'll know, you might love both those bands. I enjoy both those bands. However, you'll know why they clash. I mean, this idea of us clashing Bellwitch with Green Lung, that's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be clashing with Green Lung at the last Damnation. We were like, fuck's sake, man, they're like on everybody's tongue here, so there's going to be fucking no one at our gig. And then I think they got COVID or something, and we were like,
on the COVID. How was the last set? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fucking great, man. So it was really, really, really glad to be back there. And you know, it's just fucking, it's great having a UK festival that we can go to, and you get a lot of fucking, you know, without naming names, you get a very different clientele, I think, at Damnation than you do at some of the other UK fests and stuff. So it just seems like a really fucking cool, inclusive place, you know?
Yeah, we've got, that comes with pros and cons. See, when you get like a sort of tuned in, decent folk, it comes with a, yes, it's friendly, no nonsense, don't need to put up any of the bullshit you might get elsewhere, but they're demanding bastards, aren't they? I mean, they expect everything to be like, the pints need to be perfect temperature and it needs to be their favourite IPA. The merch has to be an exact size. It's like, I've been to the venue we're using. So I went to an event called Sidewinder, which is like a drum and bass stroke dance event. And it was like 7,000 people, including the outside bit. They're all crammed in. It was queues for the fucking toilets. But I swear to God, see, the next day I was like, that event will never happen again, because it's like you couldn't possibly enjoy it. But see, because everybody was out there facing tenor bunts, it was like the next day everybody's like, can't wait to the next one. I'm like, fucking hell, this is the crowd we need. Right, okay, there might have been some fighting, they might have had a few racists in there, a few transphobic folk, but I tell you what, the next day they wake up in the morning and say, let's go and spend our money again. Our fan base are the fucking exact opposite. So I'd still take it to the big man's point. I'd still take your fan base.
So, Gav, you might just talk to me as well about the thinking of putting on a Night of Salvation.
Right. Okay. Well, the thing is, right, the Night of Salvation's always been a thing. Yeah. It's like it's in its 12th year or something. Last year was the first time that I basically took it under my wing with Paul. So beforehand, it was just a sort of like, Damnation attracts a lot of people from across the UK and Europe. They can arrive in Leeds and have fuck all to do on Friday. So we're getting these situations, like, Paul laughs about it because I kind of left it in his hand and he was just like a profit-making machine the night of Salvation, because you could put on anyone and they'd sell 400 tickets. I mean, you could literally put in us 5 with bin lids clashing together and like you'd sell 400 tickets because people had nothing else to do. So ultimately I thought, right, okay, let's make it what it should be. And we've done that last year, and we got offered, I think it was the Svalbard set.
Yeah.
When I die, will I get better? And I thought, I wonder what we can do here, try and give it a different sort of feel, and then we end up with a Speedhorn doing our debut and Ackercock doing I think it was our debut as well, was it? And the Orange Goblin doing that 25-year set. So that ended up quite well. I don't know, it was 1,500-1,600 people came. So it was a great night. And then I thought, I'm not going to commit to the Friday at an arena until we know for certain that the Saturday's a success, because there's too much of that shit going on in the UK scene at the minute. Anyway, people just promise the world and then ultimately it all collapsing before MD ever gets to a show. So we weren't going to go down that route until we knew that the Saturday was going to cover itself at the very least. And then that happened ultimately. So we were in a position to try and pull together the night of Salvation. It was a bit of a rush job, to be honest, but I'm pretty delighted with the bands that we got to pull together for it. I mean, Celeste are incredible, and they're coming across to do that Assassins in full, which I don't think has ever been done before. And We Lost the Sea are one of the best post-rock bands on the planet, and they are going to play the best post-rock album ever written, Departure Songs. And then you've got 3 absolutely stunning UK bands in Pupil Slicer, Ithaca and Mastiff.
Pupil Slicer, absolutely incredible. Yeah, incredible band.
Agreed.
But I was just going to the Saturday night, okay? So myself and my mate, it was probably, there's 3 or 4 of us going over on the Saturday. And next minute, he just excitedly texted me going, did you see Friday night's one? I'm going, man, I'm going to be fucking divorced. I am going to be fucking divorced. What are you on about Friday? And he goes, it's up. The Friday night bill is up. And I'm going, oh, Christ, please don't be good. Please don't go. And then you put in We Lost the Sea. And I had my head in my hands going, oh, fuck, I'm going to get divorced. It's going to be worth it. They're playing fucking Departure Songs. I have it right here alongside me on album, man.
Absolutely cannot be missed. I mean, that album. So what happened at the very start is Departure Song. Now what happens is when a Damnation bill gets put together, it's not for me or Paul. You know, it's like what works and what's going to sell tickets. It's no a little ego trip on a poster. Yeah, so there's plenty of bands at Damnation that neither myself or Paul will listen to, but they're well respected in their scene or genre, and we know our fans can get it. However, every now and then there's the wee treats to ourselves, and We Lost the Sea was that treat to me. So I never knew how the reaction would be. I don't know how well they're known in our scene or even the UK, but ultimately I managed to convince them to come across for Australia. I asked if they would do Departure Songs for the Saturday. Understandably, they didn't want to be tied into one older album. They're going to finally get to the UK audience. They'll get new material they want to play as well. I understood that. So that was never an option. Then on the Friday night, I thought I'll chance my arm again. And with that one, they were like, of course, because it's not the same reason. Now we can do Departure Songs. And then on Saturday, we'll get even more freedom to play your material.
It's a win-win.
So you're going to get 2 sets, but that Departure Songs is like, oh my God, it's pack of tissues. It's going to be.
But I mean,
it's going to be a special night. We've kept it to £25, which is almost. You cannot make profit at this level in arena, just with the amount of money it costs for the arena alone, never mind everything else. But the Friday night, we just want to be packed. So if you haven't got a ticket for Friday night and you're coming to Damnation, you're listening to this, please buy a ticket for Friday night.
$25, for fuck's sake.
That's nothing like.
5 cents.
For what you're seeing. I mean, again, you're going to get, Gav, a huge influx of people from the likes of Belgium, Holland, Germany, specifically for We Lost the Sea. That's the way they travel. That's the way it is with Dunk Festival, and and the fact that they're playing this Departure Songs, that's an extra 200 people that I reckon that will just go solely for that.
For that one. I mean, it's just And so they should.
Yeah,
So they should.
exactly.
It should be 2,000 extra people because the album's ridiculous. It's just it's god tier post rock.
So, Gav, what do you think? I was going to ask you there, man. Moving into an arena, like, means that you can start putting on arena bands theoretically. Like, as in you can start booking. Like, would you ever think about putting on someone like Priest or something like that?
Like, here's me saying no, but if you asked me 2 years ago, would I move to arena? I'd have said no to that. So whatever I'm saying, take it the context of here we are right now. But you know what? The problem with almost all these bands as they get bigger is you're just creeping into that territory of someone else who's doing it. So Damnation does not want to be Bloodstock. You know what I mean? It's like Damnation's entire purpose is being Damnation. We will now be Europe's biggest indoor metal festival. So that in itself's what we're all about. Now, the problem with that is the bands that we book don't sell 6,000 tickets. So what you need is what we've done for this year is a combination of the bands where it's just unmissable.
Yeah.
Now that can be a difficult thing to do because you might think that combination of bands is unmissable, and it may well be, but it may well be for like 2,500 people or 3,000 people. Whereas you could just go and say, well, why don't we book Five Finger Death Punch and we'll definitely sell 4,000 people, but not to Damnation fans. I mean, not to, and we wouldn't be very happy about it either. So that's a struggle going forward as what bands can, because there's a level of band that are big, Meshuggah, Clutch, those kind of bands that can still do serious numbers of tickets without necessarily becoming Bloodstock.
Yeah.
But they're few and far between. And the pool beneath that, we have absolutely milked dry. I mean, your Electric Wizards, your Carcasses, At the Gates, some of them will even get back, Paradise Lost. Those bands have just, we've kind of milked
what about someone like Danzig and stuff? Because I think that would be perfect for a big, like you could get an extra couple of thousand people for someone of that stature, you know. But then again, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I exactly. But listen, if you get them at ideals, file them over because I'm a bit like what bands do still fit the bill, but you don't stray into that Lamb of God, Arch Enemy, Machine Head, Amon Amarth territory, and absolutely no slight in any of those bands. But that's not what Damnation's. The purpose of Damnation is not to put on Amon Amarth. It's to put on these kind of bands who get headlining, and then everybody showing up at 12 in the afternoon to come and see all the bands at the start. I mean, we never want to get to the stage of, oh, right, we've done 5,000 tickets, but it was big band plus support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The whole point of Damnation is you go in there and you catch the We Lost the Seas and 40 Watt Suns and Distance and whoever else will get playing. That's what makes it special. I'd be heartbroken if we'd done 5,000 tickets and everybody showed up at 9 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, the selection of bands then, Gav, like how hard is it to even, like, I mean, there's submissions for new bands, we'll say, bands that are upcoming. Like, you know, is there still a part of you that kind of wants to give that fucking young band a chance, but then, you know, you can't really, because like,
there is the only problem. The difference is now there is no more submissions aspect to Damnation. There's no more like, you don't really know us, but can we get a slot? The perfect example is that like Pupil Slicer could not get a slot on this year's Damnation. Harriet could not get a slot. The Ray bands are now playing everything. Bloodstock, Download, Art Tangent. They're on. I think that Pupil Slicer has done Brutal Assault. So we'll be on. If we can't get Pupil Slicer on the Damnation bill, you're not going to get your local band that no one's heard of on, and that's just the reality. There's no point pretending that if you catch your ear, we're just going to be a crack new wee thrash band. We're just going to throw you on for sake, because you get that slot instead of a Harriet or a Pupil Slicer or one of these bands that have kind of done the hard work and put in the miles to get it. So there's that part of it, and I still believe that when you get, well, Party Cannon are a perfect example, right? Everybody knows, I never seen knows who Party Cannon are, but they weren't given a chance anywhere, really. I don't think, like, speaking to Chris, I think they've done a couple of big festivals in America, sort of 1,000, 2,000 cap ones, but he'd never been given a real shot at it. And then they came to Damnation last year, 1,600 people in the room, could not get anywhere near the place.
Yeah.
So after that, the guy who organises, Cam Hack, who books the download lineup up to the main stage, I believe, he was in the room. The next thing you know, they're on the Live Nation tour with Gua. They're lined up for all sorts of special. So that's, I mean, as you say, he's still been able to give a band that's not necessarily new, or anybody saying, or Damnation exposed Party Cannon were already well on the way to those things, but it needed one shot at something to be in the face of some agents or some managers who would have been like, oh, the great, let's get them on the next tour with Gua, for example, you know what I mean? So I think Damnation still does that, and I mean, I know it does that because I speak to a lot of promoters for their festivals who pick up bands after seeing them play to full rooms at Damnation.
Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear, just to bands that are watching this that are just kind of frustrated, going, "Fuck's sake!" Like,
we get a wee bit angry with that, and it's a difficult question because I'd hate to be in a band myself and be great and be like, well, why come I can't go on to Damnation, and what's that band done? And you can get a wee bit of jealousy and envy as well. Like, what's that band done to get there? And my Facebook views or followers are similar, but all you can do is go there and make as much noise as possible, and that can be a slow burner. It can be one of these ones that sits in the background for a long time, and you ultimately get your shot somewhere down the line, or it can be the one where you just come out the traps blazing like a pupil slicer. You're just absolutely everywhere within 8 months. But just keep plugging away, and ultimately, if the demand's there for you, we'll soon find out. And if you're really good and you fit the lineup.
So, like, it's the same kind of in a lot less capacity is the Siege of Limerick in Limerick, obviously. Danielle, you might talk to Gav about Siege of Limerick and bands that are expected to get on it and they don't get on it, and they're really fucking odd, you know.
Yeah, well, I suppose actually, like, Damnation is the weekend after Siege, and the Siege wasn't on last year, and I got to go to Damnation, and I very much felt it's the same kind of, the people going to Damnation, the kind of vibe is very similar, friendly, out for the crack, you know.
Yes.
But I suppose the Siege is kind of it's kind of a showcase of Irish metal twice a year that's on in Limerick, and there's a certain standard that over the 15 years of the Siege that the lads have set. Now, 90% of the Sieges are free to get into. The odd time they might do like a certain special and you'll have to pay to get in. But I think, I don't know how long the lads are getting, like before Siege, they'll get submissions. But there's always a bit of hostility if you're not chosen to play the Siege. I can understand people want to get seen, but there's a certain, like you said, you have to have done the work before you can play the Siege. You can't just be like, here's my new band, can I play the Siege? It's a massive opportunity, and it's similar in the sense of Damnation. Like, they want people there from 12 in the day. Like, they don't just want people piling at the end for the headliners. And I think similar to yourselves, they do a really good job of spacing the bands out throughout the day, and trying not to have clashes, the same kind of genre and things like that. But yeah, I can see the similarities between the Siege and Damnation a lot. To giving people that I suppose the ability to showcase what the work that they've put in, and hopefully get them onto that extra tour, or get them to that next place that they need to go on their careers. So yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to going to the Siege this year and then going to Damnation the weekend after. My liver is going to be in state. Yeah. I mean,
I've seen a lot of them in Great Light. I feel like Damnation get quite a close link to Ireland for a number of reasons. I mean, one, Paul's the other half of the team, and he's for Dublin, and secondly, just there seems to be such a large Irish contingent that comes over for it. In fact, I saw the Dublin's in one of the, I think it's like the 8th most ticket sales per city, after you've got the likes of your Londons, Manchester, Leeds, Glasgow's, and that. So there's there's a real strong connection to Damnation and Ireland, and it's appreciated. It's greatly appreciated as well. I've seen the Siege lineups down the years. Is Alan for Primordial involved in that at all?
No.
As my mixing that one up.
That'll be John and
he's
Kieran
played it.
doing it.
Right, okay.
That lad or on a fucking can of beans. So you can...
They run a bath.
Yeah, it is a brilliant lineup, Gav, and there's a big kind of emphasis as well for post metal. Is that just your love of it, or is it acknowledgement that scene is starting to get really popular?
Hey, do you know what? There's so much of Damnation that we get credit for that's completely fucking accidental. You know what I mean? Like, see the honesty thing that we get a lot. Oh, because you're so transparent, so honestly, that's just, accidental is fine. That's just who we are. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't occur to us to not tell people that Ministry on the plane. It wouldn't occur to us not to tell people where ticket sales are, or when we're struggling or when we're not struggling. And the post-metal and post-rock thing, it's not accidental because we went out and booked those bands, but we never done it as any sort of master plan. Like, at the time in 2009 when we started, we put on, there was an Irish band called Stand Up Guy, wasn't there?
Oh, Stand Up Guy, yeah, great band.
Yeah.
We had Stand Up Guy playing, we had Maybe She Will playing, we had, was that the year we had Jesu playing? Something like This Will Destroy You. That wasn't us let's show the world how great it can be, but it turned out we did, because that's fucking, I mean, it makes the festival everything. I mean, to be able to walk out of Cannibal Corpse and then go down the road and see Shells or something, it's just, it makes, seeing you watch a band, a post-metal band, and then you walk in and you see a thrash or a death metal band, they just sound better, and then vice versa. Whereas if you just watch 4 doom bands in a row, you can kind of become numb to it. And also, one of my favourite festivals was Art Tangent, but sometimes you can get into a trap of watching 3 or 4 post-rock bands in a row, and by the 4th band you're just like, I'm fucking done with this. Like, this music, like, this is my favourite band playing one of my favourite songs, and I'm like, I'm just done with this music because I need a blast beat, I need some grind, you know. So we done that because that's what we wanted. We wanted that from a festival, and there was no real emphasis in trying to show others how it could be done. I'm glad to see that there is events, especially like Art Tangent's the best example, where that's just what happens now. People accept it. At the start, we used to get a lot of bullshit about when you would get a band like Mono on the bill and you would get a death metal fan screaming blue murder on them. I'm not coming, Mono. What kind of fucking music's this at a metal festival? Like, imagine getting a Chinese, right? And you get your chicken satay, and you get your chicken curry and your fried rice, and then somebody goes, oh, by the way, we also left some sweet and sour there. You don't throw the whole fucking meal out because it's sweet and sour there. Know what I mean? Yeah. You just go, I'm not eating the sweet and sour. And that's all the post-rock ever was. And especially with Damnation, it was probably clashing with your favourite band anyway, so it's completely irrelevant to your day.
Yeah.
So, and people started to get into that sort of, like, actually, if I hate that type of music, I don't need to go into that stage, and there you go.
Let everyone know that I hate this. Like, I just want to make an announcement. This is shit.
Just got and turn my back to the post-rock. Yeah. Well, one of my favourite thrash bands are playing 2 stages away.
But they know I don't like this. That's the main thing. Like,
we've got a great scene in Ireland, Gav, as you probably know, and I don't mind fucking boasting about it. But we've a fantastic connection with the Scottish bands. There's a real good connection and vibe between Scotland and Ireland, with tours going both ways. Evan, you've been to Scotland touring, and you know, Dog Tired, for example, have been over to Ireland and toured with 10 Ton Slug, Razor Sharp. Like, being from Scotland yourself, like Hell Ripper, for an example, another example, like there's a fantastic scene there. Like, is it something that you're really proud of as a Scotsman?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we probably share a common trait in that whole sort of get your back up just with English anyway, you know what I mean? In the sense of that superiority, and like, you know, it's like the football thing, isn't it? It's like, here is the Scottish fans were always like, fuck the English. You ever ask an English fan, they don't really care because they're a bit like, well, yous are shite. So what difference does it make? So there's a wee bit of I've always been proud of the fact that Glasgow, and so like in the context of Birmingham or a Manchester or London, is a pretty small city. You know, there is not a huge population there, yet we've always managed to keep a scene that could attract arena shows. It's uncommon if you're going to get a UK tour that Damnation will be left off that. I mean, it's kind of London, Glasgow, like your two big hitters, and you get Manchester in there quite often as well. So, it is great. It is great because I suppose that lent itself to me building the type of live music, or even the passion I've got for it, by able to go to so many gigs and see so many bands. Whereas if they bands were only coming as north as Manchester, I mean, I'd have went to an absolute fraction of them. So
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that. And as I said, I don't know a great deal about that. I mean, I had Alan everyone on the Damnation Versus podcast, and he was making the point that the Irish scene's pretty shit and people don't show up to support the bands, which was, if that's true or not, I don't know. But you've got a guy, Fergal Holmes, across there, certainly making a right good stab at it. I mean, he's getting his hands in as many shows as he can, and some of them, with what I've seen, seem to have done very well.
Mm. Yeah, it's more underground than DME, probably. A lot of Irish bands would hope to get a support slot from a DME show, put it that way.
Yeah.
But like, there
still needs to be the turn out there. You're not taking Behemoth across to Dublin unless you know they're going to get the people there. And I think we picked up that Eternal Champion show again, another one of these festivals that collapsed, and I picked up in Glasgow to say, because they were literally flying into the country and didn't have a bed that night. There was nothing to go to. So I think Fergal picked up the Eternal Champion, and I think Ireland really showed up for that. I was on my night was the same night as Alice Cooper in the Hydro, the Champions League final, and there was a festival in Edinburgh, the Red Cross Festival.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All the diehard fans were going to, so I kind of got the short end of the stick in that one. But I think Fergal and the Irish fans really turned out for the Eternal Champion, considering it was only like 3 days' notice.
That's right, yeah.
You find putting gigs on in Glasgow, the curfew can be a bit of a pain in the hole, can't it? Like, all the buses really finish at about 10, don't they, Gav? Like,
you can get there's a lot of frustrating. Like, the thing is, with Glasgow having such a good scene, there is 10 Fergals. You know, it's like there's everybody is trying to prove, and agents are clever with that, because then you start just getting used as bargaining chips, and then suddenly everybody's fees going up because everybody's trying to fight for the scraps of the show. So I have done Glasgow shows, I've done successful Glasgow shows with like Electric Wizard and Cult of Luna, and I think I had Watain up here, and we've done some, but it's a bit of a slog, and it's no worth the effort you put in. And then what can happen, especially if you get a midweek show, you don't get that turnout, and you're like, spent fucking 4 or 5 months in that show and lost £600. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd rather just blag somebody's guest list and just go and see it myself. Worst case scenario, maybe I have to buy a ticket. So I try to keep. I'm delighted that Glasgow's at a scene, but we'll see if I ever get myself involved in it again.
And do you do this now full time, Gav?
I do now, as of 2 weeks ago. So
how scary was that?
It was pretty fucking scary. But it was so I'm a journalist. So I was a newspaper editor. I was a newspaper editor for the last 5 or 6 years of my career. And by that point, I'd kind of done well in journalism to get myself at a stage that I had a salary that I didn't want to leave, in a job. Well, no, I didn't want to leave either. But Damnation's in an arena. And if it's not looked after properly, it won't be an arena. And also, I'll find myself at the wrong side of a court case, or fucking something happening the week before that was overlooked. And, I mean, if you sell something like Damnation, the turnover can be, I don't know, but 400 grand, $500,000. I mean, not numbers, kind of numbers that you could lose everything for. So it's like, right, and this needs to be taken deadly serious, and not whatever. I've got 3 children as well, so no finishing my job at 6 o'clock at night, feeding the kids, seeing if I can squeeze 45 minutes on to get some emails back out, and then on a Sunday to try and get some bookings done. It's like that. It's no longer that job. It needs someone who's going to do this day in, day out, full time. So I'll give it a bash. I've left journalism in very good terms. If it all goes to shit, which I'm not too proud to say that if it does, I'll wander back. I'll go and get a job doing something else, and I'll say I gave it a bash. if I didn't give it a bash, I think I'd regret it.
Yeah, fair play to you, man. It takes a
Fair
lot of
play,
balls
yeah.
to be able to do that. Like,
So, man, what do you think? Then, what do you think that there's so many other festivals going belly up and stuff like? Because you guys have been, like, you've been there for so long, and there's so many other festivals where, like, that are they still doing Lords of the Land, or is that finished as well? Do you know, or?
That's finished as well. That's one of the good examples of one that's not happening now, and I'm not sure if Mark would bring that back, because he was a guy who, for all the reputation that promoters can get, they're not always great reputations. He saw them all through. He saw all his, and I don't think all of them made money, but when they didn't, he was willing to say, "Well, this is the gamble I made, and I'm going to make sure this. I'm not going to let these bands down and torch my own reputation." So Lords of the Lands, I think the pandemic just put an end to it. Planned the pandemic, kiboshed that, and then Mark's a guy with several venues, so I don't think he was very keen in saying, let's just play this guessing game of when we can get it back up. It wouldn't surprise me if that did reappear.
Yeah.
With the rest of them, I mean, what's happening now is, I mean, because I think you guys lost, was it Clange? And
Like, there was a big one last summer with, like, Faith No More headlining and stuff. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. But do you think, like, is that because people are trying to plan outdoor stuff and then not taking into account availability of porta toilets and all that? Like, would it be better just doing indoors like you guys, or what?
they would try, but ultimately, see these things, there's a wee bit of ignorance, there's a wee bit of arrogance, there's a bit like when we started Damnation, it was something, if it sold 200 tickets, we could have made it work and walked away with maybe losing a couple of grand and said, we tried it. You're getting festivals that come out the doors now with overheads, it'll be 300, 400, 500 grand and nothing to protect themselves, with this belief that you're just going to release a poster and be Bloodstock, or release a poster and be Damnation. And the truth is not, I mean, I'd say this to anybody who'll listen to me, if you take that exact same Damnation lineup and take Damnation off the top, you're going to do half the tickets. Yeah. I mean, half the tickets sell because of the event, because there's a trust in it. The thing is going to happen. They've been there, they've built relationships and friends, they have a history with the festival. That's why Damnation works. And even then, it's a struggle to be Damnation. I mean, it's like, it's not we're sitting here just, I mean, we're 6 weeks away, it's still not sold out at this point. So it's not like it's easy just to be Damnation, and it won't be easy just to be Bloodstock or Download or any of these events. But some folk just see the big crowds elsewhere and say, I will have a bit of that action too. Yeah. And then when you try to promote to metal fans, it's not, and that's not an easy market. You know what I mean? You'd be better if you want to just get into promoting, so you can just book cover bands. Cover bands are easier.
Have you encountered fans? Like, part of the thing I thought with, like, without speaking out of turn about them, but with Clang and sort of with Dominion and stuff, was like, obviously their favourite band is Coroner, so they're getting Coroner to headline a festival in Ireland, or getting Sodom to headline a festival somewhere in England. Like they're doing it because they want to see that band, not because they think that those bands are going to bring people, you know.
Or you fall into that trap of, because they are your favourite band, they are the best band in the world, and they will sell 1,000 tickets or 2,000 tickets, whatever you need. And that's a dangerous game to play as well. I mean, like, Cult of Luna for years and years, one of my favourite bands, and they were always available, but I wasn't willing to pay the price because I didn't believe they would sell the amount of tickets they need to sell. You know what I mean? So you again, these posters behind us a lot.
Sorry?
Say that again?
What band was it, did you just say?
Cult of Luna.
Oh, Cult of Luna, yeah.
But that could be anything. That could be Amun Ra. It could be... Okay, I mean, pick your favourite band who don't sell Lamb of God number of tickets, or don't sell Opeth number of tickets. Like, just because you are head over heels about a band doesn't mean that the person beside you is going to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. You need to separate yourself from that. That's a very dangerous game to start playing it when you're booking bands just because you love them. So... Aye, there's that, and some of these festivals have just come out the chaps they are just overshooting what they think. The worst case scenario won't even be the best case scenario, because what they think they'll sell in the worst case, there'll be half that or a third of that, because that's just the way that it works. And poor Coroner and Candlemass, they were like the two most cursed bands of the summer. It seemed like both of them were a festival in Italy get cancelled. They were both at Manifest to get binned. They were both due to play some show in Ireland to get binned. I was like, fuck being Coroner or Candlemass this summer.
So over the years, and now it's a tough question to answer. Like, you've been doing it since 2005. Is there any particular year that's like a vintage wine that you look back and kind of go, at the time it was a fucking disaster, but now you look back and kind of go, actually, yeah, that was fucking class?
I mean, the ones that were a disaster are still a disaster now. I mean, like 2019, the OPF and Mayhem was fucking rough. You know what I mean? It's like on the public facing side, that was everybody other than Mayhem's sound issues. It was a good event and well attended, and they made money, and the fans got what they wanted for it. But behind the scenes, it was just
Mayhem.
It was just a nightmare, start to finish. It was just such a difficult day dealing with bands that were just competing for ego status in a lot of ways, and that was enough. Yeah, then you get years like 2009. Well, 2009's lineup, it was like Electric Wizard, Anathema. Who did we have?
Life of Agony. Was it Rotten Christ? 2009.
Life of Agony, Rotten Christ, Destruction, Lockup.
Yeah.
Yezu. Like no one came
there as well, man.
Therapy, fucking hell, the lineup. And see if you put that lineup on tomorrow for Damnation, it would do 4,000 tickets. But for whatever reason that year, no one came, and it was just like,
what?
It was just a fucking. To work all year in a festival, I think it was like, I think I lost 13 grand or something in that festival.
Oh.
And you're like, to work all year to lose the money, it was like, oh Jesus, this is not what you need. I mean, most promoters will tell you, okay, you're not going to win them all, but that one was a tough pill to swallow. And it took us a wee while to build the festival back up for that. But there's a couple of gaps, and some were just was great with that year. I think it was 2017. It was like the run of Nails, I got 4-week Nosebleed, Dying Fetus, and then they had Sodom, Bloodbath, and Paradise Lost. That was just one of those ones where everything was going perfectly. And with a few years, it just seemed like, other than that fire alarm, there was no mishaps at all. And it was like last year, exactly. We pulled together an entire bill in a few weeks. You know what I mean? I think we lost 21 American bands and replaced them with 20 UK bands and Gamma Bomb.
Yeah, Memoriam, Carcass, Paradise Lost, yeah.
And then even get like Paradise Lost doing Gothic, Godflesh come up. It was just, it felt like a triumph that it was happening. And then on top of that, it was like, if we can ever recapture the atmosphere that was there that year, because everybody was so buzzing to be back amongst friends and seeing live music again. And it just felt like champagne corks were going off all day, and it was just a real buzz about that. That's maybe, in hindsight, that's maybe my favourite year was the 2021, just because it felt like, holy fuck, there was so many people that started to doubt this would ever happen again, or festivals would continue to our side. Just 2 years of face masks and sitting in your fucking living room. I mean, it was like to get back to Damnation was a real triumph.
Yeah, I was there, and like in Ireland at the time, you couldn't go to the pubs, weren't open or anything. So to go over to a gig where there was no face masks, we were all like, oh my God, it was surreal. And then after a few drinks, when you realise that it's legal and it's fine not to have face masks on, you're just crowd surfing, going bananas.
And that was the first time you met Joe in person.
That was the first time I met Joe in person, yeah.
We're doing the show probably two years, Gav, and that was the first time Danielle met Joe in person.
Damnation, yeah. It was incredible. And some of the best sets I've ever seen from bands like is in Conjurer were incredible. June, I'd never heard of, and I walked in and was like, what is this? This is incredible. Obviously Gavin Bomber class, but like Carcass, Conan, I just could go on forever. It was actually unreal. It was such a great day.
It just felt like, was that your first show back, Joe, for Gamma Bomb?
Was that our first show back? Fuck, I think it might have been, yeah. Wasn't it? It was indeed, man, actually, yeah, November. Because we did some UK shows then just right after that. That was the start of a UK tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so there was a lot of that as well for bands. So we were getting, we'd asked Carcass, I think, to play a set or do something. It was something we were asking Carcass to do was just out of the ordinary. I can't remember what it was. And the answer back was like, we would normally, but we're all kind of nervous about playing our first show in 2 years. So we just I was filming it. We were going to film it. Okay. And I said, look, we're kind of nervous with a new guitarist in the first show. And sees a non-musician as a guy who doesn't know the difference between a bass guitar and a drum kit. I'm like, it doesn't even occur to me that these guys aren't getting on stage already like, we're going to nail this. We're just the best band, thrash, doom, metal, whatever. in my head, I'm just like, oh, these guys already know they're good at what they're doing. But like every other human doing any other job, you're a bit like, no, we actually need to find our rhythm again. This is like the first show we've played in 2.5 years. So the last thing we need is you filming it and fucking sticking it on the internet.
And what about
pressure of it all? Like,
what about merch? Gav, do you go into that side of things much?
Yeah, listen, everything. There is no other part of it. There's just me. There's me and then Paul. So like everything it's touched is touched by us. You know what I mean? So there's no, the merch is I mean, Bri designs it. Like he's the quiet third partner at Damnation, and he designs it with sort of the idea that I've got in mind, and we kind of go over it. And then I mean, the merch sales do really well. And was it last year we had that party cannon sort of funky designed one, sort of like a sort of farewell to Leeds as well. It's a bit of fun with that. So the merch is good. We've got a tie-in this year with Pins and Knuckles, who I believe do Gamma Bombs merchandise. So they're taking over the main stage sponsorship because Jaeger aren't listed in the new venue, so there makes no point in them going to do that. So we'll see what happens with them. They seem to have a really high quality stuff, and we're just sort of tying up the last of the designs now for that.
So what can fans expect, Gav? Is it going to be T-shirts and hoodies, patches, hats, what?
Well, we've kept it because what's happened before now is like it gets delivered to my house, and then I have a wife that's angry for walking around and there's boxes of fucking old merch lying about the loft and the spare room, and she just like throw that stuff in the bin, and I'm like, absolutely not, let's not get in the bin. So I think with Pins and Knuckles able to store it from a warehouse and send out from their end, now it's a bit limitless. We can go with patches and beanies and tote bags and whatever.
Wow.
Windbreakers, you know what I mean? So we'll have the usual, the T-shirts, the hoodies, but now there's a real opportunity to offer a bit more, which you can get. Sometimes you get other events, you know what I mean? And bottle openers. It's amazing the shit people buy into it, really.
Yeah.
It's like
socks and jocks.
box and jocks.
So Evan, have we convinced you to go yet?
I actually like. It's not like I need convincing. I just can't go this year. Like, it's not like I don't want to.
Yeah.
There's too
He's
much
only
fucking
coming
sweet
from
and sour
ministry.
there. Fuck that. No, I'd be all over it, fucking without a doubt. I just can't make it this year. I had originally intended to go, but things came up that I can't.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a credit to you, Gav, as well, that you do acknowledge the Irish metal scene right throughout the years. If you go back through all the bills, there's been an Irish presence right through it. And thanks for that, man.
Yeah, but Ireland makes it quite easy. You know what I mean? You've got like Scotland's quite difficult to get for, even though I know that scene. I mean, you get like Man Must Die just kind of disappeared. Remember that cracking band, Madman is Absolute? They just disappeared after that. I mean, I know you're saying some of the bands like Dog Tired now, but there were some of these bands you wish there was just a wee bit more pop, as like they were known a bit more out with the Edinburgh and Glasgow scene, or maybe as you say, get it, like if they were just a bit more in demand, because I'd love, I mean, us getting with June on, I think they've got a loose Scottish connection.
Yes.
One of the members.
Yeah, that's correct.
But it's great. I mean, Hellripper was great. I mean, it's great to get Scottish bands to come in and we'll tear their arm off if it's there. But with Ireland, it just seems like there's just a bigger choice of bigger bands. I mean, like Gamma Bomb and Primordial are not difficult bands to book and cause a wee bit of excitement for. You know what I mean? It's right off the bat.
Yeah. Dread Sovereign. There's a few.
Aye, we've had Dread Sovereign and Morning Beloved there, Irish as well, and we had somebody else.
Therapy as well, obviously, look, you know.
Oh, but obviously with the biggies, so we had the big Therapy. But I mean, Bleed From Within are a band that I've maybe overlooked for the Scottish scene that would bring numbers to Damnation as well. But sometimes I heard you when we were talking about that first, when you were doing the first CD review or the song review, and get that whole metalcore. I think in my head somewhere that they get tagged with a metalcore.
They do, all right, yeah. They
tag in. And in my head, even, and I'm leaving that guy, really, he'd be like, oh, I don't listen to that genre because of that. But I do have types of genres that probably don't fit that well for Damnation and Damnation's fan base. And I think somewhere along the line, I've got in my head that Bleed Within are a metalcore band. And when you hear them, they're actually pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a dirty word. That's the problem.
It's a dirty
Just a dirty
word.
word. Yeah.
So any more questions for Gav?
We have free tickets for the next one.
You definitely don't. But
So Gav, listen, thanks a million for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on it. And there's still tickets for sale. There's tickets for sale on the Saturday night. They're $65, 65 sterling. And there's still tickets for the incredible night of salvation. If you're that way inclined, I certainly am. It changed my mind. Man, I just fucking went, you know what? Book an extra night at a hotel. We're going over for the Friday as well.
absolutely, listen, there's plenty of wives out there, isn't there? You're only going to get departure songs once.
Well, yeah, that's all you needed to hear, yeah.
So that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Danielle, Evan, Joe, and especially Gav for taking the time to come on the show. Check out Damnation. It's up there on Facebook, Instagram. You've no excuse if you can make the trip, either from Europe or from Ireland. Get over there. It's an exciting festival, man. It's there since 2005. They know their shit, and give it some support, okay? Thanks, everybody, and crucially, support your local metal scene.